My 6-year-old son asked his mother, Sarah, for $5 to buy some Slim Jims, only to get scolded for not understanding the value of money. As someone who had just woken up in his body, staring at the script of a good-for-nothing trophy husband, I wasn't having it. I pulled my son over and gave him some fatherly advice. Leo, listen to me. A man has to have a backbone. If your knees get soft now, your wife will walk all over you for the rest of your life. Leo looked confused. So how do I get backbone? Start by hiding a stash, I whispered. Take this $1,000. Remember, this is our strategic reserve fund. Sarah's face turned as black as a skillet. Jack Miller, is this how you teach our son? I shot back without hesitation. Don't be afraid of her. She's a paper tiger. If you don't resist now, you'll end up just like your dad. Hey, watch the kicking. 10 minutes later, Leo and I were standing at the gates of a luxury villa in our slippers, the cold wind cutting through us. Leo sniffled, clutching a crumpled $1,000 bill in his hand. Dad, is this what you call having a backbone? I smoothed back my messy hair and lit a cigarette. This is called a strategic withdrawal. Come on, I'll show you what the real world is like. Sarah probably thought I wouldn't last 10 minutes. After all, the old Jack Miller would have been crying and begging to be let back in after 5 minutes in the naughty corner. She was wrong. I looked down at Leo, who was wearing cartoon slippers identical to mine, and had only one thought. She couldn't imagine the joy of a liberated man. Dad, where are we going? Leo looked up, his big eyes full of confusion. I blew a smoke ring, acting cool. The world is big, kid. Everywhere is home. He pouted. Speak English. I haven't decided yet. I put out the cigarette and waved my hand. Just follow, Dad. There will be meat. As soon as I said that, Leo suddenly remembered something and reached into his pocket. He dug around for a while, and his little face fell. Dad, where's my $1,000? My heart sank. I recalled the image of Sarah's icy hand plucking the strategic reserve fund from my son's pocket right before she kicked us out. She had said, I'll keep this safe for you so you don't starve on the street and embarrass me. I patted Leo's head without changing my expression. Money is just a worldly possession. For a real man, integrity is what matters most. Leo sniffled and muttered, I think you were just acting tough and got struck by lightning, and now you've dragged me down with you. This kid knew too much. The two of us, dressed in thin loungewear and slippers, looked like two pitiful quail in the early winter wind. We passed a barbecue stand, the aggressive scent of cumin and roasted meat drilling into our nostrils. Our stomachs growled in unison. Leo swallowed hard, staring straight at the sizzling lamb skewers on the grill. He tugged at my shirt. Dad, watch this. He ran over to the stall owner on his short legs, squeezing out the most adorable, pitiful expression he could muster. Mister, I lost my dad and I'm cold and hungry. Can I have one skewer? My dad will come pay you later. The owner, a burly guy with a face full of muscle, didn't even look up. Beat it, kid. I've seen the scam 1,000,000 times. No money. Don't block the business. Leo's cute kid strategy failed instantly. He ran back dejected, eyes red. I squatted down and wiped his runny nose. Son, acting cute is a low-level tactic. Then what do we do? I'm hungry. Watch and learn. Dad's going to teach you the highest form of the hustle. I dragged him into the nearby park to a bench. A beautiful woman in skimpy clothes and heavy makeup was dancing and singing into a phone on a tripod. Fam, thanks to Big Brother for the rocket. Here's a heart for you. She was a fairly popular streamer. My eyes lit up. Opportunity. I nudged Leo. Go hug her leg and call her mom. Leo's face went pale. Dad, do you have no shame? I looked solemn. Can you eat shame for dinner? Tonight's meal ticket depends on you. Leo hesitated for 3 seconds, looked at the beautiful streamer, then rubbed his growling belly. He gritted his teeth, closed his eyes, and launched himself like a little cannonball. Mom, I finally found you. I miss you so much. He latched onto the streamer's leg, wailing with heart-wrenching grief. The streamer's singing stopped abruptly. The chat room on her screen exploded. Elderly folks walking nearby gathered around, pointing and whispering. The streamer was totally confused, looking down at the child attached to her leg with question marks all over her face. Just as she was flustered and about to call security, I made my entrance, walking with heavy, sorrowful steps. I walked up to her, my eyes full of grief, my tone heavy. Mimi, I know you hate me, but you can't abandon our son. The child is innocent. The streamer, known as Mimi, looked like her face was going through a color palette. The live stream comments were going wild. OMG, drama of the year. Influencer abandons husband and child caught in 4K. This guy is hot, even if he's a scumbag. I forgive him for that face. Is this kid an actor? That crying is too real. Mimi's brain worked fast. She saw the viewer count skyrocketing and realized something. Instead of calling the cops, she played along, squeezing out a couple of tears for the camera. You don't talk nonsense. I don't even know you. I pulled Leo over, pointing at the tear tracks, actually snot on his face. Look, our son has lost weight missing you. You heartless woman. Leo immediately improvised, crying louder. Mommy, don't leave me. I promise I won't wet the bed anymore. I almost kicked him. What kind of line was that? Mimi almost broke character laughing, but held it together. The viewer count broke 1 million. GIFs were flying across the screen. The crowd of onlookers grew, pointing at us. Seeing the effect was sufficient, Mimi turned to the camera. Fam, this might be a misunderstanding. I'm going offline to handle some family matters. She cut the stream, allowed a long breath, and pinched Leo's cheek. Yeah, you got skills. The Academy owes you an Oscar. Then she looked at me, her eyes full of curiosity. All right, spill it. What do you guys want? I clear my throat, returning to my rogue self. Beautiful. We're just hungry. Wanted a mucha meal. Mimi laughed, exasperated. You caused all that chaos just for a free meal. Mostly, the kid wanted to see a pretty girl. I pointed at Leo. Leo puffed out his chest. Dad says looking at beautiful women is good for physical and mental health. Mimi was so amused by our double act that she decided to treat us to a big dinner. At the restaurant, Leo turned his grief into appetite, demolishing a whole roast chicken by himself. I ate and drank while shooting the breeze with Mimi. Actually, I have very high status at home. I took a sip of wine and started spouting nonsense. My wife listens to everything I say. If I say jump, she asks how high. Leo, gnawing on a drumstick, mumbled a rebuttal. Sister, don't believe him. When Dad kneels on Legos at home, he picks the smooth ones. Mimi laughed so hard she shook. I glared at my son and continued bragging. Men, you know we have to give our wise face in public. But at home, behind closed doors, she serves me tea. Meanwhile, miles away in the villa, Sarah Sterling's face was dark. Her best friend Jessica had sent a link with a message. Look fast. Your husband and son are trending. Sarah clicked it and saw the recording of my heartfelt accusation and heard Leo crying. Mommy, don't leave me. Her blood pressure began to spike. The video ended with me bragging to Mimi. That tiger home, I just let her win. Otherwise, I would have divorced her ages ago. Crack. Sarah crushed the wine glass in her hand. Shards pricked her palm, but she felt nothing. Jessica called. Sarah, don't be mad. Jack is just running his mouth. He's dead meat. Sarah hung up, 2 fires burning in her eyes. I, oblivious at the dinner table and slightly buzzed, was teaching Leo the art of pickup. Son, remember there are 2 core secrets to chasing girls. First, have no shame. Second, persist in having no shame. Leo nodded thoughtfully, then pointed at Mimi. Dad, can I chase this sister? Before I could answer, my phone vibrated violently. Caller ID, the Empress Dowager. That was my contact name for Sarah. I was screwed. The gig was up. Leo saw the caller ID and was so scared he dropped his chicken leg. Dad, it's the Empress. Do we answer? His little face was filled with terror, as if a monster was on the other end. I took a deep breath, smiled calmly at Mimi, and said, Family business. Family business. Then I hit the speakerphone button for my pride and to maintain my last shred of toughness in front of my son. As soon as the call connected, Sarah's voice, cold enough to freeze water, came through. Jack Miller. Just those 2 words dropped the ambient temperature by several degrees. Come back immediately. Now the tone was a command, leaving no room for negotiation. If I chicken out now, all the bragging I just did would turn into a joke. I cleared my throat and replied with a toughness I never had before. "I'm sorry. The subscriber you are calling is currently getting rich through hard labor and cannot answer your call. Please try again later." After that, without waiting for her reaction, I snapped, hung up, and turned off the phone in one smooth motion. The whole world went quiet. Mimi stared at me, dumbfounded, as if looking at a warrior. Leo stared blankly for a moment, then gave me a huge thumbs up. "Dad, you are my god." Then his face fell as he asked the most critical question. "But where do we sleep tonight?" Mimi recovered and laughed, suggesting, "How about crashing in my studio for the night? I have a spare room." She saw our potential and wanted to sign us as streamers. "You two, a hot dad and a cute kid combo, guaranteed to go viral." I shook my head. "No signing, but I could be a technical partner." "What technique?" "I provide the jokes and scripts. You handle operations." 55 split on profits. I didn't want to be tied down by a contract. Being a free spirit was my goal. Mimi thought about it and actually agreed, but I still refused to stay at her place. A grown man staying at a single woman's house with his son. Gossip is ugly, and that was my bottom line. That night, I took Leo to an internet gaming lounge and rented a private booth. This was the first time since waking up in this life that I felt the joy of bachelorhood. I taught Leo how to play video games, from the basics to how to trash talk until the opponent rage quits. "Son, remember you can lose the match, but never lose the psychological war. Type fast, hit hard." Leo was a prodigy. The student surpassed the master. Half an hour later, our top lane teammate quit the game after being roasted by him. "Trash. My grandma plays better with her feet." I looked at his righteous little face with relief. The kid had my style. Meanwhile, in the empty villa, Sarah sat alone on the sofa. The wall clock pointed to 11. Usually by this time, Jack would have come over with a basin of foot-soaked water, grinning and telling terrible jokes while massaging her feet. Today, the house was terrifyingly quiet. For the first time, she felt the house was excessively large and bitingly cold. She wasn't used to it. This feeling made her extremely irritable. She took out her phone and dialed ahead of security. "Find Jack's location. Drag him back here alive." The gaming lounge was hazy with smoke and filled with the clatter of keyboards. Leo and I were immersed in the joy of canyon warfare, completely unaware that danger was approaching. Several burly men in black suits and sunglasses appeared abruptly at the door of our private booth. The leader was Sarah's trusted aide, Butch. "Mr. Miller, Madam requests that you and the young master return home." Butch's tone was polite enough, but his expression was severe. I didn't even look up, eyes glued to the screen. "Hold on. Gotta finish this team fight. If we lose, it's on you." Butch's mouth twitched. He clearly hadn't expected this reaction. He signaled the man behind him, and they moved to grab us. Before they could get close, Leo suddenly jumped off his chair and wailed at the top of his lungs. "Help! Molester! The mafia is bullying a child." His scream instantly drew the attention of the entire internet cafe. Dozens of red-eyed, keyboard warriors pulling all-nighters surrounded Butch and his men. "What are you doing bullying people in a gaming lounge? Look at you big guys messing with a kid. Have some shame. Call the cops. We have to call the cops." The power of the masses is great. Butch and his men, despite their strength, were rendered speechless by a crowd of angry gamers. I took the opportunity to stand up, walked over to Butch, and patted his shoulder. "Brother, don't be impulsive. Being a bodyguard for the Stirrings, how much do you make? Standing in the wind and rain, no future." I lower my voice. "Look at me striking out on my own, making bank in one night. Come work for me. I'll make you rich." Butch froze, a flicker of hesitation in his eyes. Just at this tense moment, a snide voice cut in. Well, isn't this the Miller family's trophy husband? How'd you end up in a dump like this? Get kicked out." I turn around to see a slick-haired rich kid, Chad Kensington, looking at me with a sneer, flanked by a few lackeys. Sarah's #1 supporter, an ATM who always wanted to prove I was trash. His appearance here was a forced coincidence if I ever saw one. Chad walked up to me, pulled a thick wad of cash from his wallet, and threw it on the floor. "Jack, weren't you hungry? Call me Grandpa, and this money is yours." It was naked humiliation. The cafe went quiet. Everyone watched me before I could react. Thud. Leo moved with agility, dropping to his knees and bowing furiously at Chad. Grandpa, 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 I said it 3 times. Can I have the money now? His voice was loud, his form perfect, his eyes filled with a thirst for cash. Dead silence. Everyone was stunned by this sudden turn of events. Chad's face went from triumphant to iron gray instantly. He wanted to humiliate me, but my son had completely short-circuited the situation. I covered my face, feeling like I'd lost a lifetime of dignity tonight. Cough. I really didn't teach him that. That's pure natural talent. Chad was riding a tiger he couldn't get off. Under the public gaze, he had to grit his teeth and have his lackey pick up the money and stuff it into Leo's hands. Leo grabbed the cash, counting it with lightning speed, practically drooling. I snatched the money from him. Son, well done. Remember, this is called respecting the elderly and cherishing the young. You must respect old people. Chad shook with rage, pointing a finger at my nose. Jack, you useless waste. Letting your son humiliate himself. He raised a fist to strike, but the fist was blocked by Butch. Mr. Kensington, bullying a child is disgraceful, Butch said coldly. His look at Chad was filled with disdain. Chad was totally confused. Sarah's bodyguard was helping Jack. Taking advantage of the chaos, I took Leo and left the cafe. Using the money Chad had donated, I booked a luxury suite at the best hotel in downtown Chicago. After a shower, wearing a fluffy hotel robe, I felt alive again. Leo rolled around on the big bed, clutching the wad of cash, grinning like a little miser. Dad, we're rich. This is just the beginning. I lit a cigarette, a bold plan forming in my mind. I took out my phone, logged into the streaming account Mimi gave me, and changed the title to Chronicles of a Trophy Husband. How to make my Ice Queen wife kneel and sing Conquest. Then I dragged Leo over and aimed the camera at the two of us. Fam, to everyone who said I was bluffing yesterday, watch closely. Today, class is in session. Live demo. As soon as the stream started, Mimi directed traffic our way, and viewers flooded in. Front row for the drama. What's a streamer doing now? With that title, aren't you afraid your wife will kill you? Brave Soul Streamer is a legend. Waiting for the CEO wife to descend. I cleared my throat and started spinning tales. To handle a woman, it's actually simple. 2 words, ignore her. The angrier she gets, the calmer you must be. Like yesterday, she told me to get lost, so I got lost. Now she must be going crazy looking for me. Leo, acting as my hype man while hugging the cash, added, yeah, Dad says jump. Mom doesn't dare say how high. She just starts swinging. Haha, is this kid biological? Professional heckler. Why do I feel like the streamer is dancing on the edge of a cliff? Just as the stream hit peak hype, ding-dong, the doorbell rang. Thinking it was room service, I shuffled over in my slippers to open the door. Your supreme roast goose. My word stuck in my throat. Standing at the door wasn't a waiter, but Sarah. She wore a black trench coat, her hair slightly damp from the rain, her face devoid of expression, radiating a chill that could freeze a man solid. Behind her stood a gloating Chad. It was over. I really played myself this time. The camera was pointed directly at the door. The next second, the chat exploded. OMG, OMG, it's the CEO herself. She's gorgeous. Streamer is insane. Speak of the devil. That aura. I feel the killing intent through the screen. R.I.P. Streamer. My brain crashed for a second, but my powerful survival instinct kicked in instantly. I spun around, flashing a brilliant smile at the camera. Fam, did you see that? This is the special guest I invited to help with the performance. I pointed at Sarah, also the top donor who sent the most gifts. Everyone, give her a round of applause. Sarah let out a cold laugh and stepped into the room. Jack Miller, you've really grown a spine. Her voice wasn't loud, but the pressure was immense. I felt my calves trembling, but I absolutely could not chicken out now. I winked frantically at Leo. Leo understood immediately, threw down the money, and pounced on Sarah's leg like a starving tiger. Mom, you finally came. Dad said if he didn't come pick us up, he was going to scrub toilets for the rich lady next door. Sarah's aura of rage was instantly derailed by this sentence. I seized the opportunity, rushing up to hug her from behind, shouting at the camera, "Honey, leave me some face in front of outsiders." I promised to kneel on a circuit board when we got home. As I spoke, my hands weren't idle. I used the momentum to push her toward the wall, executing a cabin wall pin. Of course, it was mostly staged for the camera angle. The chat room went completely insane. Screams filled the screen. "Ah, the wall pin. I love this trashy romance." The CEO is blushing. I saw it. She blushed. Sarah was indeed blushing. Half from anger, half from embarrassment. She had never been this close to a man in her life, especially not with hundreds of thousands of people watching. Chad stood by dumbfounded. He tried to interject, but Leo stomped hard on his new leather shoes. "Uncle, adults are talking. Children shouldn't interrupt." Chad remained in pain, but couldn't explode. In that moment, I felt like the coolest guy in the world. I forcibly ended the stream amidst the chaos. In a hotel room, the temperature dropped to freezing. Sarah broke free from my wall pin, resuming her female composure, eyes cold enough to kill. "Jack, come home." And then, a tribunal or straight to execution. I leaned against the wall, asking lazily, "You have a nerve to speak?" Sarah's chest heaved with anger. But regarding Chad and our son, she didn't explode on the spot. Back at the familiar villa, the air was terrifyingly quiet. Chad had followed us like a parasite, claiming he was worried about Sarah. Sarah sat on the main sofa. Leo and I stood before her like prisoners. She pulled a document from her bag and slammed it on the coffee table. Smack. Divorce agreement. She looked at me coldly. "I'm giving you one last chance. If you dare humiliate us like today again, sign this immediately and get out of the Sterling family." This was her trump card. The old Jack would have gone weak at the knees hearing the word divorce. Chad's eyes glittered with excitement, envisioning my miserable exit. I stepped forward and picked up the divorce papers. Everyone's gaze focused on me. Sarah thought I would beg for mercy in tears. Chad thought I would kneel in despair. Instead, I picked up the agreement, didn't even read it, and brought it to my mouth to wipe off the grease from my late-night snack. Then, I crumpled it into a ball and tossed it into the trash can. "Honey, the paper is too stiff. Next time, buy a softer brand." Dead silence. Sarah's expression shifted from cold to stunned, then to disbelief. Chad's jaw nearly hit the floor. Leo ran over to twist the knife. "Mom, I think divorce is great. If you divorce, Dad can take me to find that sweet sister named Mimi. She promised to buy me a huge roast chicken." Sarah felt faint from anger and held her forehead. "You too." I suddenly dropped the goofy grin, my expression becoming serious for the first time. I looked straight into her eyes. "Sarah, I know you look down on me. You think I'm a loser mooching off you, but I'm telling you now, the old Jack Miller is dead. Standing before you is Jack Miller, too. Zero." The line was cheesy and dramatic, something I improvised, but it worked surprisingly well. Sarah was thrown off by the sudden change, unsure how to respond. I struck while the iron was hot. "From today on, we sleep in separate rooms. Also, I demand independent parenting rights for Leo. Your elite education doesn't suit my son." Sarah instinctively wanted to refuse. But looking at my strange, determined face, she inexplicably fell silent. What happened to this man? How did he become so difficult, yet somehow a tiny bit charming? For the first time, she doubted herself. The first night of sleeping separately, Sarah had insomnia. From a room next door came the faint sounds of cheering and arguing as Leo and I played video games. She tossed and turned, her mind a mess. The next day, she came home from work, opened the door, and choked on strong fumes. Coughing, she saw the living room, usually spotless, was a disaster. A small tent was pitched in the center, and in front of it sat a barbecue grill. Leo and I were sitting on camping stools, grilling lamb skewers with great seriousness. Beer cans beside us. "Jack, what are you doing?" "The house is full of smoke." Sarah's anger flared, her blood pressure alarm ringing again. I looked up, saw her face ready to explode, and calmly handed her a freshly grilled skewer. "Wife's home. Taste this. My secret recipe. Double cumin." Sarah wanted to scream to throw us and the grill out. But the meat was perfectly charred on the outside, tender inside, dusted with spices, the aroma drilling into her nose. Her traitorous stomach growled, "GRGGL." It wasn't loud, but in the quiet living room, it was clear. Leo, with sharp ears, heard it. He held up a chicken wing, blinking his big eyes. "Mom, eat it. If you eat it, you're our accomplice, and you can't scold us." The twisted logic left Sarah speechless. She hesitated, then finally took the lamb skewer and sat awkwardly on the camping stool next to us. It was her first time hanging out with us in such a grounded way. One bite, crispy, tender juices exploding. Surprisingly good. She couldn't help taking another bite. Just then, the doorbell rang. It was Chad again. He was carrying expensive gifts, making up excuses to see Sarah. When he saw the bizarre indoor camping scene, he petrified, especially seeing Sarah, the aloof ice queen, sitting on a camping stool in a high-end suit, eating a skewer. His worldview collapsed. Seeing Chad, my playful side emerged. I picked up a grilled mushroom and held it to Sarah's lips. "Honey, open wide, say ah." Sarah instinctively wanted to dodge, but seeing Chad's face twisted with jealousy, she changed her mind. She leaned in slightly, opened her mouth, and ate the mushroom I fed her. Chad felt like a knife had been plunged into his heart. Leo pointed at Chad and asked Sarah innocently, "Mom, why does this uncle always come to our house? He's so ugly. Does he want to be a trophy husband, too?" Chad practically coughed up blood. Unable to stay a second longer, he clutched his chest and fled. After he left, Sarah looked at me and couldn't hold it back. She burst out laughing. When she smiled, it was like the ice melting, spring flowers blooming. I stared at the rare smile on her lips, dazed. Sarah froze too, realizing what happened. Her cheeks flushed, and she turned her head away unnaturally. The atmosphere in the living room suddenly became subtle. Since I gained parenting rights, Leo's style had gone completely off the rails. One day, while I was home brainstorming new stream skits, I got a call from the kindergarten teacher. Her tone was severe. "Is this Leo Miller's parent? Please come to the school immediately with his mother. Your son is running a pyramid scheme at school." A pyramid scheme? I hung up confused. This kid expanded his business to kindergarten. I told Sarah, and her face, which had just softened over the last 2 days, turned black again. We rushed to the office where several parents were already standing, complaining to the teacher. The teacher looked grim. "Mr. Miller, Miss Sterling, look at this. This is what your good son has done." She pointed to a pile of contraband on the desk, several printed photos of me with my autograph, several candid photos of Sarah, a pile of candy, and crumpled small change. Turns out Leo had absorbed my bragging at home, proclaiming to the kindergarten that his dad was a superstar influencer and his mom was a tycoon CEO. Then he started selling merch. My signed photos, 50 cents a pop, had no buyers. Sarah's candid beauty shots, $1 each, sold out instantly to the little boys. He also used my shameless tactics to recruit a gang of minions to run errands and charmed several little girls into giving him snacks. A chubby kid's mom pointed at my nose and yelled, "It's you," sitting at home doing nothing, corrupting the child. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I recognized this parent. She was a distant relative of Chad's, usually enjoying bullying others. Sarah couldn't handle the embarrassment and wanted to crawl into a hole. She glared at me fiercely as if to say, "Look what you've done." I didn't panic at all. I walked to the desk, picked up the pile of change, and counted it. Then I looked at Leo and asked solemnly, "How much did you make in total?" Leo puffed out his chest, answering proudly, $23.50. I nodded with satisfaction. "Not bad. You have a head for business. Truly, my son." Then I turned to the chubby mom, smiling. "Ma'am, my son made money based on his personal charisma and business acumen. Fair and square. Unlike some people who rely on nepotism to throw their weight around at their age. If nobody likes your son, that's because he lacks skill. Why are you jealous?" The woman turned red, unable to speak. The other parents who wanted to join the pylon shut their mouths. I continued my output. "Let the kids handle kids' stuff. He can make people willingly pay him. That's talent." Instead of teaching your kids to be competitive, you run here to scold a 6-year-old. Isn't that laughable? My logic loop of nonsense stunned all the parents and the teacher. Sarah stood behind me, watching me debate the crowd and silence the snobs. For the first time, she thought the back of the man standing in front of her looked kind of handsome. The kindergarten storm ended with me compensating all the parents for emotional distress. Basically, I bought the whole class McDonald's. Although it cost a bit, Leo's status as the king of kindergarten was solidified, and my relationship with Sarah Thod significantly improved due to this united front. But good times don't last. A new crisis arrived quickly. Mimi brought her team and a detailed partnership proposal to our door. They wanted to build a parent-child comedy IP around Leo and me, offering a very tempting price. I looked at the contract, tempted to show sincerity. Mimi personally did a screen test for me and Leo to check her camera presence. She linked arms with me, teaching me how to pose. Leo stood aside, holding a reflector, shouting like a pro, "Yes, yes, Dad. Get closer. Closer to new mom." This brat, just for the Lego set Mimi promised, was calling random people mom. Just then, the crisp sound of high heels on the floor came from the entryway. Sarah was home. She stood at the entrance to the living room, looking at our happy family of 3. Her expression froze, specifically seeing Mimi clinging to my arm and hearing Leo shout, "New mom." A fire of jealousy detonated in her heart. The temperature in the living room dropped at least 10 degrees. Mimi, sensing the vibe was off, awkwardly let go of my hand. I thought, oh. Sarah walked over step by step, radiating full dominance like a queen inspecting her territory. She first shot a cold glance at Mimi, then her gaze landed on me. Jack explained. I spread my hands, looking innocent. Work requirements. Making money for the family. Sarah's anger gauge maxed out. Can I not afford to support you? I laughed a bit roguishly. To be a trophy husband, you need the goods. I can't be a total waste relying entirely on my wife, can I? That sentence ignited Sarah. She said nothing, stepped forward, grabbed my wrist, and dragged me upstairs toward the bedroom. Her strength was surprisingly high. Mimi and her team watched, dumbfounded. Leo smartly took out his phone, secretly recording our backs, ready to post it to the loving family group chat. The group only contained him and Aunt Jessica. Bang! The bedroom door was slammed and locked. I was shoved hard against the wall. Then, taking the initiative, she used the move I used on her, wall pinning me in the corner. She leaned in close, her warm breath hitting my face, carrying a dangerous fragrance. Jack Miller, I'm warning you. From now on, you're only allowed to eat from my bowl. You're not allowed to touch any of that garbage food outside. I looked at her face, inches away, vividly alive in her anger. My heart skipped a beat for no reason. This woman was kind of intense when she was jealous. When Chad saw the video Leo posted in the group chat, he mentally collapsed. In the video, Sarah dominantly pinned me to the wall, declaring sovereignty. It was like a knife repeatedly slicing his humble simp heart. He couldn't understand. He had money. He had looks, sort of. Why couldn't he beat a useless mooch like Jack? Jealousy distorts people, making them lose their minds. Chad decided to take a risk. He wanted Jack gone. He hired 2 clumsy-looking thugs to kidnap me and Leo. That day, I took Leo out to buy his favorite street noodles when a beat-up van suddenly stopped beside us. The door slid open, and 2 masked men dragged us in before we could speak. It happened so fast, Leo's noodles went flying. My noodles, he screamed in heartache. In the van, a kidnapper waved a knife, looking fierce. Everybody shut the hell up, or I'll stab you. I was strangely calm, and Leo surprisingly didn't cry. He just wrinkled his nose and said to the kidnapper with disdain, "Mister, the AC in this van sucks. 1 star. The driver turned back and cursed, "Cut the crap. 1 more word and I'll gag you." I sighed and spoke up. "Brothers, kidnapping is a technical skill. Your route planning is all wrong. Right turn ahead has a camera. Left turn has a DUI checkpoint at this hour. Listen to me. You turn ahead. Take the back roads. Safe." The 2 kidnappers looked at each other, actually bluffed by me, and followed my directions around the city. Finally, The van stopped at an abandoned warehouse. We were pushed out, and they took out ropes to tie us up. I held out my hands cooperatively. Don't tie it too tight. Cuts off circulation. When a ransom comes, I can't count the money if my hands are numb. The kidnappers were speechless. They'd probably never seen such cooperative hostages. We waited for ages, but no call came from Chad. The warehouse was stuffy and boring. I suggested, since we're just sitting here, how about a game of cards? The kidnappers' eyes lit up, and they agreed. So the kidnapping scene changed genres. Leo and I versus the two kidnappers. We drew a table on the ground with chalk and started an intense poker game. Meanwhile, Sarah received a ransom call from Chad using a voice changer. Your husband and son are in my hands. Prepare 10 million cash. No cops or collect their bodies. Hearing this, Sarah went frantic. She ordered the company finance department to prep cash while having Butch and the security team track my phone location. She couldn't help it. She also called the police. When Sarah kicked open the warehouse door with the cops and bodyguards, everyone was stunned by the scene. In the middle of the warehouse, Leo and I were shouting excitedly, "Full house! Straight! Huh! Pay up! Pay up!" The two kidnappers sat dejected on the floor, faces covered in white paper strips, the penalty for losing, digging money out of their pockets. In front of us lay a small pile of cash winnings. Seeing the police, the two kidnappers looked relieved and held out their hands. "Officer, quick, arrest me. I'm never kidnapping again. This father and son are con artists. I lost my wages and my mom's birthday money. I've lost my underwear." Chad was quickly exposed by his incompetent teammates and dragged away by the police on the spot. Crisis averted. Sarah rushed over, hugging me and Leo tight, her body trembling slightly, tears falling uncontrollably. It was the first time I saw her cry. I patted her back, whispering comfort. "Why are you crying? Don't be scared. We won money." After the kidnapping, Sarah's attitude toward us did a 180. She finally realized how important my son and I were to her. She decided to cook a loving dinner personally to compensate us for the shock. The result was a disaster when she brought out a plate of black cola chicken wings that looked like charcoal in a pot of borscht emitting a strange odor. Leo and I looked at each other and saw the resignation of soldiers marching to death. "Honey, is this a new cuisine?" "Charcoal style." I spoke with difficulty. Leo pinched his nose. "Mom, I feel like your love is too heavy. I might choke on it." Sarah had been full of anticipation, but hearing us, the tenderness on her face vanished, replaced by embarrassment and anger. "Don't talk. Eat it all." She was about to explode. I sighed, stood up, and under her shocked gaze, swept her up into a princess carry. She yelled, instinctively wrapping her arms around my neck. I placed her on the sofa and rolled up my sleeves. "Your Highness, you just be responsible for looking beautiful. Leave the oily kitchen work to me. I want to live a few more years to look at you." This sudden romantic line made Sarah's face turn bright red. Leo clapped his hands. "Dad is mighty." Then he looked at me expectantly. "What about me? What am I responsible for?" I glanced at him. "You're responsible for babysitting yourself and not causing trouble." "Leo, I really was adopted." From that day on, our family dynamic changed completely. Sarah was the Ice Queen CEO outside making money, but at home, she was occasionally Sundra and accepted my feeding. I was responsible for looking good, inventing recipes, creating chaos on live streams, and teasing her. Leo was responsible for roasting us, being a third wheel, and voluntarily going to his room to game when we got affectionate. The house was chaotic every day, but filled with laughter that was never there before. Sarah started getting used to smelling food when she came home. She got used to dropping her CEO facade when I told jokes, leaning into my arms and laughing until she shook. She realized this life was much happier than the rigid, cold days of before. One night, she leaned against me watching TV. She suddenly asked, "Jack, when exactly did you become like this?" I thought for a moment and smiled. "Probably when I decided I didn't want to watch you be so tired alone and wanted to share the burden," I lied. But seeing the moved light in her eyes, I felt the lie was worth it. My career in the streaming world peaked because of that bizarre kidnapping case. The whole internet knew there was a man named Jack Miller, who took his 6-year-old son, completely tamed his Ice Queen CEO wife, and could hustle kidnappers at poker. My follower count broke 10 million overnight. The company Mimi and I started was on track and making bank. To celebrate, I rented out an entire rooftop restaurant for a grand 10 million fans gala, live streamed completely. At the banquet, I wore a sharp suit and Leo wore a little tuxedo, following me like a mini adult to accept congratulations from influencers and fans. Just as the stream vibe hit its peak, the restaurant doors opened. Sarah, wearing a dazzling red evening gown and high heels, walked toward me step by step under everyone's gaze. She was breathtakingly beautiful tonight, like a burning flame, instantly capturing the room's attention. The live stream chat went crazy. Ah, the CEO wife is here. The queen has arrived. That aura. I declare her the queen of the night. It's over. I was shipping Jack and Mimi, but I'm switching sides now. Sarah walked up to me and, under the gaze of millions online, did something shocking. She reached out, hooked her finger in my tie, tiptoed slightly, and kissed me on the lips. Flashbulbs erupted. The chat's server crashed. The kiss ended. She took the microphone, faced the camera and everyone else, and announced firmly, "This man is mine." One sentence cut off all the delusional fantasies of my female fans. The chat wailed, heartbroken. The husband I just started standing was stolen. This vengeance is eternal. Just kidding. Wish you 100 years of happiness. After the party, back at home, deep in the night, confirming Sarah was asleep, I began my traditional art, hiding the stash. I tiptoed to the bedside, lifted the rug, pried up a loose floorboard, and prepared to deposit the small freedom fund. I'd skimmed today. A spooky voice came from behind me. "Dad, I want to hide some." Leo had crawled over at some point, clutching a few bills he'd swiped from my wallet earlier. Just as we were about to exchange the illicit funds, click, the bedroom light suddenly turned on. We both froze and turned our heads. Sarah was leaning against the door frame in silk pajamas, arms crossed, looking at us with a beaming smile. "How much have you hidden?" Her voice was very gentle. "Is it enough to buy me that limited edition bag next month?" Leo and I looked at each other and reached an instant understanding. We stood up, speaking in unison with plastered smiles towards Sarah. "Honey, Mom, this is the surprise we prepared for you." Sarah smiled, even wider, opening her arms to us. "Is that so? Then hurry up and bring the surprise here for me to see." Under the moonlight, our family of 3 laughed and wrestled together. Perhaps this is a man's simplest and most real happiness.